This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
And so then I said, I just can't do this anymore. And then you wouldn't believe what happened next. Oh, wait, we're live. I'll have to tell you the rest of the story later.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry.
Dang it.
I know.
Stupid live show.
I know. It's just amazing. It's just totally amazing. But nobody on listening or watching wants to know anything about that. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Live from the Edge, which means we're live on the edge of things.
Of sanity. Apparently.
So thanks, everyone, for joining us. We are here to talk about Star Trek Discovery on Live from the Edge. I'm Bruce Gibson, and with me is Brandi. Jackola, whatever you want to go by. Brandi, how are you?
I'm just going to pretend I'm great and we'll go from there. How about that?
You are great.
Yeah.
You are great.
Yeah.
Well,
No, you.
That's fine. I'm sorry you've had a rough week.
It's okay. This is the best part of my week right here. So let's have a good time tonight, everybody.
Yes, we're here to support you. We're here to back you up. And if you need any loved ones to join you on the show, feel free to have someone on.
Oh, well, since you happen to mention it, I did bring someone along.
Oh, great. Who?
Well, my wonderful husband, Dave.
Dave, you're here with us.
Yeah, I'm her service support animal.
Mr. Jackola, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Now that's Count Jackola to you.
Count Jackola.
One Star Trek podcast.
Oh, man. I love the Count from Sesame Street.
You know, the counting thing is an actual vampire trait.
Is it?
They're obsessive compulsive. So if you're ever getting chased by a vampire, you throw a bunch of rice on the ground and they have to count it all before they can pursue you. So it's an actual thing. And Count Von Count, the Muppet, used to be able to hypnotize the other Muppets, but it got too scary for children, so they removed that trait.
Oh, wow. Hey, welcome to Live on the Street for Sesame Street.
Dave is a font of information that you never knew you needed.
This is stuff that I really am fascinated with. Seriously.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. It's like, I did not know I needed to know that, but thank you.
Oh, we don't need to know it, but we're just glad we do.
You're going to know it anyway, because I'm going to tell you.
Yeah. You can't shut him up, trust me. He's going to tell you the whole story. Yep.
Well, Saints of Imperfection, that's episode 5 of season 2 of Discovery, and that's what we're going to talk about instead of Sesame Street. Number 5.
So, Saints of Imperfection, it sounds like a band name or an improv troupe?
I like it better for an improv troupe. Honestly.
Improv troupe. Saints of Imperfection is a great name for an improv troupe.
I think that's awesome. You know,
Saints of Imperfection.
Oh, there you go.
The three of us should start a group together, and that's our name now.
Oh, nice.
Let's totally do that. We'll do improv via YouTube.
Yeah, we can do
Google Hangout.
What are you doing? That'll be our first game.
Yep. Inside joke. Sorry, guys.
Joke.
There are other people here.
That's what took so long to start. To get three improvisers together. We're just riffing.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm looking here in the chat already because it's very active as it has been lately this season. So
Yay.
It's going crazy. And Dave, I'm used to seeing you in here and you still are chatting, even though you are here on the show with us.
Yep.
Yeah, he's distracted right now.
I can tell he's
I'm not
typing.
the best multitasker, that's for sure. I gotta just stay here. That way I can still see you guys.
Yes, stay here with us. I need you here, honey.
Oh, look.
For the emotional support.
Yes.
Simon says, not like the game, Simon says. There's a Simon in the chat. Simon says, been binge listening to the Edge podcast. So great to put faces to the voices. Simon, I'm so sorry you had to see this.
Yeah, you probably had a thought in your head about what we might look like, and I'm sure you're disappointed.
So we're ahead
Life is
of
full.
the chat. So watching this looks like it's badly dubbed film.
Okay.
That is true. So when we do the live show, the chat is behind. So we say things and then the chat doesn't really respond for maybe like another 30 seconds later. It's kind of strange.
Yep.
Right now it looks like I'm lip syncing Bruce.
Yeah, I turned that video off. It's too distracting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're getting too distracted on other things. So, this episode, I have to say, Brandi, it's getting to a point now that when I watch Discovery, I start thinking of you because we talk about it. So I think, I wonder what Brandi thinks of this. Oh, I wonder how Brandi's reacting to that. Oh, Brandi's crying now. I just know it.
Oh, heck yeah.
You are correct.
So there was some crying in this one, I'm sure.
There was sobbing. So yeah, they were very quiet sobs because despite the fact that Dave and I have been married for over 21 years, I was pre-programmed in my youth that displays of emotion were bad. That I was too emotional. And so even with Dave, with whom I am completely safe, I still hold back a part and I can't figure out how to get past that wall. If I had been alone, I would have been renting my hair, just tearing out my hair and just wailing. Like the old biblical way when you're just like, Yeah. That would have been me.
But that wasn't you during watching this episode. You weren't reacting like that.
No, I wasn't because I am reserved. I still have this wall that I haven't been able to breach in front of another human being when I'm having an extreme emotional response.
I also noticed that your door's closed. I've never seen the back of your door. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
I was going to say my door's always closed.
Is it?
What are you talking about?
Then the camera angle's different because I've never noticed those pictures there.
She has a closed door policy.
My pictures of people that I admire or have great affection for.
Oh yeah, I see myself up there. So
I need a picture of you, like a good headshot.
Take one now.
I'm sure you have one.
I do, but they're like 9 years old. That's why they're good. So,
okay.
So let me ask you. Now I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to say this, and then you'll respond to this. So, I did find this episode to be emotional. I'm going right to it. Of course, we know why. But I would say it got, as things went on, because it was emotional. The most emotional part to me was when Burnham walks in and finds Tilly in their cabin there, and she sits next to her, and Tilly puts her head on Burnham's shoulder, and a tear comes down. She starts crying a little. I think because all the emotions kept building up, and I thought it was over, and that little moment was like, I can't take anymore.
Yeah, that was, and I thought at that point that I was probably done. I thought, okay, now we're having this little closing thing, right? And then nope, I'm not done.
I thought I was in control of my emotions and then when I was vulnerable and I could put my guards down, no, it didn't ruin.
They pull you back in.
They do. I'm taking my sweat jacket over my hoodie off here. So Colbert.
Yes.
Colbert. Hugh. He's back.
Thank God.
I'm glad, but in some ways I'm not. So I
knew that was going to happen.
So for the most part, I am glad he's back because I really liked him as a character, and I'm really thrilled that he is back. I just don't want to get to a point that, everybody who dies comes back at some point. I'm fine with this happening, but let's not, if somebody dies later, let's keep them. Because, even Giorgio, Captain Giorgio is dead. Oh, but we got the mirror version of her. Oh, Culber's dead. Oh, no, now I don't want to keep getting that. I don't want to be Gotham because that seems to happen to Gotham.
that's not how it's going to work, because what happened with Culber ending up in the mycelial network was an aberration. It's not something that consciously happened, and it's not something that can probably be repeated, because, you know, if somebody else ended up in the network, it's likely they wouldn't know what to do and they would be reconstituted.
Yeah, it was a very singular thing of transferring that energy, I guess that life energy, through stamets to the mycelial network. It was an unusual way to do it. And it's a bit hard to get wrap your head around it. It makes narrative sense.
We're not going to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't see that again. So, but I was totally fine with it. I was hoping for it. And I was not disappointed because I felt like, regardless of what happened in season 1, there were so many clues as to, you know, building up to this, even in season 1. And so I felt that they would bring him back, period. I didn't know how that was going to work, if it was going to make even a remote bit of sense. To me, it works within the confines of the established science in Discovery.
Yeah, because when Stamets was trapped in the mycelial network and saw Hugh, it was not a mirror version of Hugh. It was the actual Hugh.
Yes.
And, of course, he thought it was his memories of Hugh, but it turned out to be the actual person. Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm totally on board with this, and I always was. So, I'm sure there's going to be some challenges with him suddenly being alive again, and interacting with Tyler's going to be interesting, to say the least.
At least it gives him kind of a reprieve.
Yeah, but see, I'm also wondering, is Culber going to be back to his old self? Is it going to take time, just like when Spock died and came back? It took Spock a while to become Spock again. Or is there going to be any side effects on Culber? That's what I'm starting to wonder.
Well, I don't know what side effects there might be. I don't know if it will be like it was with Spock, because Spock did spend a lot of time with his Katra rattling around in Dr. McCoy. And rattling around in Dr. McCoy's head is enough to drive even a Vulcan mad. So I feel like it's not really the same situation, because Culber was intact in his own form, but built in the mycelial network. So I don't think it's going to be like that. I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Yes. I see comments in here. Liam says he's Mushroom Culber. And Justin says, don't worry, Bruce, Takuvma is still dead. I don't know. Who knows? No, I'm kidding. That's the other thing. Then Lorca, Prime Lorca will show up, you know, who knows? Anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing about the mirror universes. Universe? Wow.
Universe. You're going through a universe?
I'm going through the universe. And the thing with universes is this.
You know what? Universe should be the term for getting married. Because then divorce, you split it. So universe, you unite it. So we're going to get universed.
Right. Okay. Yep.
I see some things in the chat about all favor of bringing back Lorca. There you go.
Yeah, I'd like to see Prime Lorca.
I would too, because, you know, I love me some Jason Isaacs. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would just... I honestly, they've done for me so well this season that they would really have to massively screw it up to make me upset. So I have faith in what is coming up, and I feel like maybe it's another point in the column of the red bursts being Iconians again, with the whole tachyon emission sort of thing in the areas where the red bursts were. So, could be time travel or a transporter sort of thing. Yes?
I don't think it was going to be time travel on this
I don't think it is either, but it could be an Iconian gateway.
Yes. And we've had that theory. We've been keep talking about that one. The more I keep hearing things, the more I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not getting any more solid information to form a pattern. I got a tidbit tidbit about tachyons.
What's odd about the Red Angels is, weren't those the guys that wore berets that protected the subways in the 80s in New York? So whenever they talk about the Red Angels, I'm just thinking of that period of time.
I remember them. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why it never occurred to me until you just said that. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Now we
just
know what
old, I
happened to
guess.
the Red. Yeah. We know what happened to the Red Angels now. They came out of the subways and went out into the nebula and had Spock chase after them. Oh, yeah. Chris says that's the Guardian Angels. But you're right. They wore red berets.
Yeah.
You're right. And white shirts and whatever. Yeah. I remember that.
Right. This is awkward.
This whole show's awkward. Okay.
Let's talk about the mycelial network.
Let's do that. What do you want to say about it?
Well, being a dungeon master, it reminds me of the Shadowfell, which is where the dead go. And if you're living being there, it starts affecting you. Like, it might make you suicidal or make you depressed or apathetic, or you'll pick up some kind of weird necrotic thing on your skin or something. That living things aren't supposed to be there. And it reminded me of that. So any organic matter there gets attacked and broken down and reconstituted into something else. I found that interesting. And it reminded me of that.
That sounds exactly what we saw in this episode. It sounds just like it.
Yeah, and who knew? Maybe Kirsten Beyer has played some D&D in her time.
Could be.
Maybe.
I have a friend who keeps trying to get me to D&D, so it's funny this came up.
Man.
There you go.
Come on, it's so fun.
And using the bark of the tree to protect yourself, and then looking at that as an attack. Brandi, you brought this up while watching it, is that it's a classic misunderstanding of alien races, thinking that somebody defending themselves is an attack, because he's just protecting himself from you attempting to reconstitute him.
Well, and the thing is that they couldn't communicate until May came along and infiltrated Tilly and then brought her to the mycelial network. So without all of that, he probably would have ended up losing his battle or killing everything without meaning to. Nope. Because they couldn't communicate. So they're each seeing each other as monsters, which is, wow. It's what happens when you can't communicate with each other. You misunderstand, and fear enters the mixture, and then it's just every person for themselves, or every life form for itself.
And that's what causes a lot of universes.
No.
So while Stamets was trapped in the mycelial network, did the spores reconstitute Discovery? Because he was wandering around places, or was he still on Discovery?
I don't know. I think
that's a
he
good question.
was. I think he was, because there was that first hint when he and Culber are, getting ready for bed in that, I can't remember which episode now. Sorry, guys. And then Stamets smiles at himself in the mirror and walks away, and then there's still mirror Stamets in the mirror. Yeah. So there was a mirror Discovery. And wherever it was, because, we never saw the mirror Discovery except in the mycelial network. So I don't know if it was a representation that mirror Stamets built or what it was. I'm not sure. That information is beyond my grasp. But it was definitely, there was definitely something going on there. And my guess is that it was probably something that mirror Stamets did, or it could have actually been the mirror Discovery, the ISS Discovery.
How cool was it when it actually jumped, did a half jump into the mycelial network and stopped there?
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Amazing.
That was. And even when you saw it, parts of it sticking out of the network, the ship, it looked like it was a sinking ship in an ocean to me.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It had a lot of water effects, and you could see that on the spinning disc, how it would just run up along it, and there'd be parts of it that were hit by the cresting waves.
Yeah, it was a beautiful effect that's even the second time gave me shivers, that it was just so amazing. And even though I felt like everyone was going to turn out to be okay, I was still tense. Even the second time, knowing what was going to happen, I was still tense. So, way to go, Discovery.
Yeah, it had very much a naval movie feel to it. And I know Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that was the approach that Nick Meyer gave that. And this had that feel to me that even when you see the bridge, and part of the bridge is in the mycelial network, and it's like creaking and tipping, and everybody's holding on. It felt like a ship sinking in the ocean. It almost like Titanic, when I watched that movie, it had that feel to it.
And did you notice Tyler dragging one of the crew members away from sliding into it?
Yep.
That was a nice touch.
Because I think the console shorted out and stunned him, and so he grabbed him and pulled him back. Yeah. But yeah, I did actually mention to Dave while we were watching it a second time that those sounds, those metal sounds, were absolutely right on point.
And there's another time where it sounded like steel cables breaking, and there's this twanging noise.
Cable snapping sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like I would like a making of this episode. Well, all episodes I'd like that, but just to see the sounds department, did they go out and what sounds they used to create that, and if that was in their thinking, and the visuals, the production, the audio, the sound, everything is so on point on these episodes. It's so great. So great.
It was beautiful visually, and the sound effects and sound design were stunning, and it made me ugly cry, guys. You know how I am.
Oh yeah, when Stamets pulls Hugh's arm into the cube and it disappears.
Oh, that's when I really lose it.
That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part.
I was worried that was going to happen, and so when it did happen, it didn't make it less potent. Even expecting it, it didn't make it hurt any less. And so it was just, that was when I was just, and of course, when Culber is actually reconstituted back in the real world, however you want to phrase that, then ugly crying there too. Mm-hmm. So,
what about ugly crying when Culber was saying goodbye to Stamets? Just move on.
Oh, so much of that. And he's telling me, you got to let me go. And he's just shaking his head. And I'm just like, this is killing me.
He's like, I can't do it twice. I can't lose you twice.
Yeah.
I particularly like the speech of their third date when they're just leading him around the city and walking a little too fast, and so Stamets had to kind of run to catch up. Mm-hmm. And how Hugh just
held
put
out his hand,
arm out for him. It's like, that was such a touching story.
It was.
And you could tell that was the moment that they fell in love.
Yep.
We're going to get Brandi to cry. Any other touching stories? Should we push her over the edge?
Live. Pushing Brandi off the edge.
It doesn't take much, guys.
So yeah, the part where Culber puts his hand through to go into the cube and it disappears. I rewatched that episode again with my wife. She didn't see it the first time with me, so I knew it was coming. And so many times I'll watch stuff like that where my wife says, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Oh, I knew that was going to happen." That one, she was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, yes, she didn't know that was going to happen. But then she said, "I knew something was going to happen."
Well, you'd hope so. Otherwise, you don't have much of a story.
Yeah.
Neo Star 9 in the chat says, "Is this the first time that New York City exists?" What does that mean? I just read that because we were talking about New York City right before we went live, so that's what freaked me out about that.
Well, they so often talk about San Francisco because that's the where Starfleet is based.
Starfleet headquarters is.
I don't know. Maybe it grew out of SF Sketchfest or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not just that because the president of the Federation is also there in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So
okay, so the New York thing is the Metropolitan Museum of Art. That's why. Yeah. So this probably is no, but didn't wasn't it supposed to take place in New York? The city on the edge of forever.
Yes.
I mean, that's just.
And
I don't know.
Yeah.
In Star Trek, though, I'm saying New York has been mentioned before. And we've seen, in Enterprise.
Yeah, original series, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Justin just did bring up that City on the Edge of Forever largely takes place in New York City. So
yeah. But this is the first time New York's been mentioned, I think, on Discovery. So, yeah.
Yeah, but not in Trek. So it's been mentioned in Trek before. There we go.
So continuity or continuity.
Yes.
However you prefer to say it. New York still exists across multiple series.
Well, and lots of cities get name checked in some of the books. But as we know, if it's not on screen, it's not considered canon, etc. So. Yeah.
Oh, Brandi spotted something on the second watch, and that's the Next Generation style communicator.
Yes.
Tyler has.
What do you think about that? Because I was like, I could see a lot of people going like, oh, no, too soon.
Well, you would think Section 31 would have the advanced technology because a lot of it wouldn't be legal yet. Yeah. And so they'd have stuff like cloaking technology or communicators that aren't official yet. So I could see them having advanced technology.
Well, and besides that...
Well, this is in the 2250s, and I mean, we really don't get those communicators throughout Starfleet until almost 100 years later. That's kind of a long time.
We are talking about government. It takes a while to roll out the new tech, believe me.
Yeah, well, it's probably more of a thing where Section 31 has whatever the best tech is available, and then when they find something better, they're like, okay, well, we can release this to the public. And yeah, if it takes 100 years, then it takes 100 years. But, time travel has also existed in Star Trek all the way back to Enterprise. So
yeah, we don't send out Starfleet with the communicators we want. We send them out with the communicators we have.
True. I know what you want, but this is all we've got. Just take it. So yeah, I see some things in the chat, Brandi, kind of going along with what you're saying. It's like maybe this communicator used by Section 31 is from the future. That technology was somehow obtained from the future. That could also be said maybe for the holographic presentations of communicating with people. Maybe there's a lot of things that the future is affecting here in the Discovery timeline. I really don't believe that, but I'm just throwing it out there. Look at me, I'm throwing.
Yeah. Toss it out for everyone to dine on.
Yes.
Let them eat theories.
Let them eat theories.
Sorry.
If we had to name this episode, that's what I would call it. Let them eat theories.
How good is May as a character?
Oh, I want to see her again.
I know.
I really want to see her again.
So does Tilly.
Her split, yeah.
And the pinky swear thing, especially the second pinky swear when she said, I believe the universe will find a way for us to connect again. That one got me ugly crying too.
Really?
So,
yeah.
Because I just, I wasn't sure about May. I wasn't sure about her intentions. I felt like she was acting for the preservation of her species, but I didn't know how on the level she was. And, I totally understand her reactions once, Tilly gets over there and, there's a monster in her eyes destroying their ecosystem. And then it all just turns out to be a big misunderstanding, which is that's so real to me,
Well, yeah, it's so Star Trek. It's so like contact with an alien race. It's a bit Babylon 5, even.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah. Like Minbari showing up with their weapons exposed as a sign of peace, and they've taken it as a sign of war.
Bruce hasn't watched Babylon 5, babe.
It's okay. Now I know what happens.
No, you don't know what happens.
No, he just explained it.
Well, that's history, though. The series starts after Earth and the Minbari have been at war for a long time. So but that's how the war started.
But do we know if New York City still exists in that?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does. I promise you.
Good.
It's not that far in the future.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of May in the beginning. I mean, she was okay. I didn't have a problem with her, but she has grown on me, and I did like her in this episode. They definitely kept the door open to maybe bringing her back by saying, they're doing the pinky swear, but at the same time, she's saying that by having Culber come back and use that cocoon will close the door. So it would be interesting to see how they would open that door up again if we reintroduced May into Star Trek Discovery. And of course, Tilly would have to be part of that scene. But Tilly even I swear, every episode, I'm loving Tilly even more, even though I didn't know I could love her more. And that really goes for all of the characters on the Discovery. I'm just loving them more and more and more each time.
Agree completely. And the thing about May is, even though I wasn't sure about her motivation, nor did I particularly like the character at the time, Bahia Watson's performance was winning me into wanting to see more of the character.
Yes.
It seems intentional because as she develops this relationship with Tilly, we as viewers develop a relationship with her too. And so we start to appreciate her as well. And so when they have to split apart and can't see each other anymore, we feel it as viewers the same way Tilly feels it in her heart. And I think that's really good writing to do that across several episodes. It's a nice little mini arc.
Yeah, Tilly is growing to like May, just like we, the viewers, are at the same time.
Yes, I like that. Except she wasn't too happy when she did wake up in the mycelial network.
Yep.
And there was, Tara Steiner says that Mary Wiseman is giving a very different kind of performance also, but it still seems very true to character and not overacting. I agree. And there was that great line when she was so angry, and she said when she got back, when she got out of the mycelial network, she wasn't going to work through her anger. She was going to let it sit and fester inside her for eternity.
That was a great speech. That should be like an audition speech for people, like just a monologue to go with that.
I thought the same thing. I've already been seeing memes of that too. I mean, that just really stood out.
Another thing I really loved was when May and Tilly first go on to the bit of discovery that's in the mycelial network, and Tilly's like, where is everybody? And May says, maybe they died trying to rescue you. And she's like, thanks for that.
I love that bit.
I'm going to say that now instead of saying not helping. I'm just going to say, thanks for that.
Hey, Chris, I see here in the chat you heard Brandi's voice in Tilly's rant. Really?
Well, I do sometimes let anger fester.
Well, also, there's a reason Tilly's your favorite character. So
yes, I identify a lot with Tilly, and Tilly, she is very emotional, and she is getting in touch with those emotions more and more because she is now comfortable among her shipmates, and she never got that feeling from her mother, and so she was always putting up a front for everyone. Now she doesn't have to. Mm-hmm. Now she's safe. She has a family, and she even calls them her family. So she is free to be her true self.
And don't you feel the same for Burnham? I feel like she has put her guard down too.
Oh yeah, when we first see Burnham running through the halls, I'm like, she's running to engineering. I know she is. And the look on her face when she gets there, and I felt this tightness in my chest because I just was feeling what she was portraying. I was feeling it deeply. And sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I like that moment because they do that slow motion thing that they did at the beginning and the end. And so they have these bookmarked parts of her doing her routine in slow motion. And then they have that moment as well when she's running in slow motion to engineering. And I think that all ties together her emotional state from like the beginning, middle, and the end of that episode. and her trying to find her place on the ship and just her role in this whole thing.
Yeah, and not only that, let's try that again. Uncertainty is worse than knowing one way or the other. Not knowing is worse than knowing. Because, she was already worried about Spock, worried about what he was going through. And now Tilly's missing. And I love that Stamets would not give up on her. I love that he's like, nope, she is not dead. I'm going to find her. I loved that because if their positions were reversed, Tilly would have done the same for him.
Right.
So,
well, that's even what Pike says about Tilly. You know that she would give her life to save ours.
Mm-hmm. In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I like how they explained what happened to the crew of that other experimental ship, how they got twisted by the axis,
Yeah, on the Glen.
Yeah, being between the two universes, just getting twisted up.
Yeah, it was nice to go back and explain that because you're right. We never got any explanation for that. Hi, Kitty.
Yep. Our kitty has decided to invade the podcast on Dave's end. So, there is so much to talk about in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
So
and
much.
Hat Productions in the chat just said something that I was thinking, too. The mycelial network reminds me of the Upside Down, too, from Stranger Things.
Very much so.
Except it was way more colorful.
Yeah, the purple.
True.
And it was kind of like the ethereal realm, too. Well, yeah, or if you've ever played Skyrim, when you're in like the death realm in there and everything's kind of purplish.
Yeah, it's not Stovacore. What is it?
Stovacore.
It begins with an S, though.
Yeah.
Sovenheimer, something like that. Somebody who's played Skyrim in the chat, please jump in with what the ethereal realm is in there. I want to say it's Sovereignheim or something like that, but I can't remember. I'm a bad person.
I don't even know what you're talking about, so I cannot help you.
It's a video game. Elder Scrolls Skyrim, really? You never heard of that?
Well, I don't play it to answer your question about
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking people in the chat. If anyone has played Skyrim, help me remember. Sovngarde. Thank you, Neostar9.
Nice.
See, I knew it was an S word.
I wish this chat was around when I used to take tests in school. And they could just give me answers.
Groupthink.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh my goodness.
Characters. Another character we have not really talked about. Giorgio and Section 31. Oh my gosh. Like, I kept watching this thinking about, we're getting a series about this. And I kept thinking, how's this going to play out? Are we going to like her more as a character? I'm not saying that no one likes Mir Giorgio as a character. I'm just saying, will she become more likable? Will she become less evil over time? Less Mir?
Well, the thing is that I think that her environment is affecting her because remember the faces she was making at the baby?
Yes.
I mean, that's already starting, and how the minute anyone was looking at her doing that, it's back to tough girl, so she definitely has that within her to be likable. She just doesn't much care. She's having the time of her life.
Well, there's a moment on the Section 31 ship where, what's his name? Pete or whatever. He can't see her, and she's making this face. She's smiling that she's granted them more time and they can escape. Mm-hmm. She's happy for Michael.
And she's also happy. She's also happy when Discovery manages to pull itself back out of the mycelial network. Yeah, she was smiling then as well.
So she's hiding that she's has affection.
Leland. The name you were looking for, dear, is Leland.
Okay.
And let's talk about Leland. How fun was that relationship with Pike?
Oh yeah, they have a history. They go way back, and yet they're like kind of competing with each other. Kind of going up against each other. And then we got Cornwell trying to bridge them together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I couldn't figure out why she was on the ship.
You're both wrong.
Exactly. What was she doing on the ship? where did Cornwell just come from? Was she hanging out on the Section 31 ship the whole time? I couldn't understand if she showed up later or something, because she's accusing Leland of, oh, you were cloaked and you were hiding from the captain here, and I'm like, yeah, but were you on the ship, Cornwell, when that was going on?
I don't think so, because we see scenes on the ship before when they're firing those tractor beam,
right?
What do you want to call them? Anchors, and such. And if she was there, I think she would have been interacting. So I'm guessing that she showed up later because, yes, it seems instantaneous to us, but it could have very well been an entire day. And when we see Enterprise, when we see Pike beaming onto the Section 31 ship, I can speak English, I swear.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. That's what I thought too. I thought, okay, so at some point, did another ship bring her over to the Section 31 ship, and then later, and that ship left, and then Pike, because we don't see that ship anywhere.
Well, we don't, but we don't really have to. And she came there to brief with an F.
That's it.
She came there to brief both of them and tell them they had to work together. Now shut up. I'm just going to back away slowly from my microphone.
Beep.
And I'll just sit way back here.
Well,
okay.
I see you're having, just lay back there, relax. Your mouth will hurt less since you're not talking.
Okay, how many episodes until we get to Spock?
2, I think.
2 more?
If I don't kill Bruce first.
Hey, when we got the shuttlecraft there, did you expect Spock to walk out, or did you know it was going to be Giorgio?
I knew it wasn't Spock. I knew it wasn't Spock, and I thought, who could possibly be on that would be a big revelation. For a half a second, I thought of Harry Mudd, but I didn't think it would be him, and so I'm like, yeah, it's going to be Giorgio.
I thought it would be Harry Potter. Actually, no, I was expecting it to be Spock, and then as soon as she starts walking down, I'm like, oh, yeah, she saw this coming because we've seen the clip of her walking down that ramp on previews.
Yeah, with her hands up.
Yeah.
I do love that Burnham was the last one to lower her phaser, and only after Pike says something.
Yeah, he just
and
looks
even
at
then
her.
even then she's like
Now, I think Pike's starting to get really fed up with all the secrets.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that Burnham's gonna, confess to him. I don't think she can keep it from him because he will find out whatever it takes. He is determined. And I personally would be happy if he did, so that I could see the look of horror on his face when she tells him everything. Because he knows some of it, but not all of it, obviously.
He's going to be like, I wish the Enterprise was fixed because I'm ready to get back and get away from this craziness.
Yeah.
How long is Discovery going to spend in space dock after all that damage it took?
I don't know. Maybe, I really don't know. Because there was damage to the hull, extensive damage to the hull. There had to be partial damage to one of the nacelles, because once they were, they started sinking further into the mycelial network, it did envelop the port nacelle. So there had to be damage to that. They might be dead in the water for a bit. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just, have to cancel the rest of the season so they can repair the Discovery.
Or maybe they just skip ahead.
Oh, there's an idea.
It's called editing.
Yeah.
Editing. We don't know what that is on this show.
No, not on this one. This one has no editing.
So Christopher Littlefield says, I think Pike already knows. He's just testing Burnham. I don't think he does. I don't think he does either.
I think he suspects, but he doesn't know exactly.
That I'll go with, yes.
He is suspicious, but I don't know that he would expect that Giorgio was, Emperor in the other universe.
Yeah, I don't know how much they briefed all of Starfleet on the Mirror Universe, because it seems to come as a surprise to the Enterprise crew in the original series.
Well, that's the thing. The whole thing was classified by Cornwell.
Right.
So it's basically everybody on Discovery is sworn to secrecy. And I don't think that Cornwell was telling a whole bunch of people either. So I think actually relatively few people know the whole story.
Okay, this is what's so funny to me. The Mirror Universe, everybody has to keep that a secret, but yet everybody knows about Section 31.
Yeah, I had a problem with that too. It's like, this is supposed to be like the super secret organization, but it's also been people in command have known about Section 31. So
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody knows or if just the rumor mill, everybody kind of suspects there's
I
this
feel like at
agency.
least everybody in Starfleet, if it seems as everybody in Starfleet knows of Section 31.
Well, they don't exactly hide it very well with their flashy badges and the little Black Widow outfits. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm still pretty sure that regardless of how they're viewed in the future, that they have the power to retcon whatever they want as far as logs and data. So they could very easily write themselves out of history.
Yeah, I'm still going with that idea of they buried Section 31 in the future. So by the time we get to the 24th century, a lot of people don't know Section 31 because Starfleet has buried it, even like in trainings of officers and stuff.
Yeah, it was supposed to be discontinued, yet they continued it. So when it rears its head in Deep Space Nine, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that. Hey, if the writers are listening, we just gave it to you. Use that.
You know, if Kirsten Byers involved, excuse me, then you know she knows the continuity. So I'm not worried about it.
No, she only knows Voyager. She doesn't know anything else.
Oh, for heaven's sake, that is not true, and you know it.
No, she knows it. And she has a lot of friends that know it really well, too. So any questions, she just has to pick up the phone.
Right. Yes, our number is... No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so there was something else I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it is.
So Tyler didn't spend much time with the Klingons, did he? It was like, one or two episodes, and he's back?
Yeah, but that's 1 or 2 episodes. We have no idea how much time actually elapsed between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. So he could have been there for a year, for all we know.
How much more about the Klingon storyline do you think we're going to follow? Do you think?
I think it'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it'll come back later in the season. I'm not sure how or why, but I think something will happen in there. I'm not really sure.
Mary Chiefo tweeted the other day showing how she eats lunch in the makeup, so I guess she's still doing something.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So
there's some stuff that I've seen that hasn't been on the actual episodes yet, so I think that we will definitely see them again.
Yeah.
So
see, now I was going to say something, and now I can't remember what it was. But
I stole your thoughts.
Tyler. When you're saying about Tyler and didn't spend that much time with the Klingons, Tyler was a very favorite character of mine in season 1. And I was like, oh, I hate the fact that he's, actually Voke and all this stuff because I really want Tyler and I hope they don't kill him because I really like this character. So far this season, I'm just kind of like, like, I'm not, like, he's not really doing anything for me. I like the episode with him and Laurel. That was all good and everything. But just like him on board Discovery right now, I keep forgetting he was even on there because he really didn't have much to do.
Well, Pike's also kind of put him in a corner. It's like the whole, it's liaison protocol thing. It's like, you're staying on the bridge.
I almost feel like he's there just so Burnham can, like, look over her shoulder at him half the time and roll her eyes.
I think he might have to gain Pike's trust to get more of a role. Yeah.
Good luck. But yeah. Oh, and Chris Littlefield, thanks, Chris, for reminding me that season 2 picked up where season 1 left off. However, there's still a long amount of time, I feel, time that's unaccounted for between certain episodes, because we're seeing these things a week apart, but that doesn't mean that a week has passed for these characters. It could have been a month. It could have been 2 months, depending on what has happened from one episode to another. So, because, if they're not using the spore drive, if they're going somewhere with warp drive, it's going to take longer. I'm just saying it's possible that more information has, more time has passed than is necessarily visible to us.
Okay. That's realistic.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you exactly. And sometimes when you see scenes happening on Kronos or something else, doesn't mean it's happening really at that same time.
Exactly.
From the previous scenes that you've seen. Yeah, and again, I'm convinced Klingon hair grows really fast, and so does Tyler's. But he is part Klingon.
But in a human body.
Right. But then didn't we see, I think I remember last week even the chat was saying, or the previous week or whatever, that we've seen growth, like acceleration of hair. Yeah.
Follicle stimulators do exist in the Star Trek universe.
I don't need those.
And on the Orville.
Yeah, that happened on the Orville too, but we're not here to talk about the Orville. It, in this case, was giving someone a mustache whose species could not grow mustaches, and it was weird.
Okay, here's something that's kind of a weird, maybe controversy, is Hugh being reborn naked. That seems to have...
Oh, for the love of
why
all
is that controversy?
Offended some people.
Because
really?
People who hate the LGBTQ community will take anything and make it into a sexual thing. And so I've seen some people on Twitter who were making that into a sexual thing. And I'm like, there was absolutely nothing sexual about that. Hugh was literally reborn in a new body.
I would have been upset if he was reborn with clothes, even though I imagine the spores could reconstitute clothing. I thought it would be odd if he had been reborn with clothing on.
Oh, apparently people were upset because there was butt. Who cares?
Well, there were Klingon boobs earlier, so...
Yeah, we saw sex. We saw flashes of sex earlier.
Yeah.
But if it's gay people, that's so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I had a little round.
On Twitter,
didn't know
I saw a lot of positivity towarst the Stamets and Hugh relationship.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's really well done, well written.
Yeah, I definitely ship Colmets, definitely.
Yes, me too. So I want to go back to Naked Culber, but not necessarily the controversy.
Well, I will tell you this. I have seen some videos of Wilson Cruz working out. That dude is ripped.
He's a very fit dude and a very handsome one at that.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm not so interested in the naked scene now, because what you mentioned is, well, he wouldn't be born with clothes on. I mean, they're not going to, and I totally agree with that 100%. But now I'm starting to wonder, well, when we see him in the mycelial network, where did he get those clothes? Because those aren't the clothes he was wearing when he died.
Yes, but they created those out of their DNA.
They created clothes out of their DNA. Like, why did they clothe him? I guess
because that's what he looked like.
Yeah.
So
I think it was supposed to be based on Stamets' memory of him. At least that's the impression I got. It's kind of vague. And they make several metaphors that don't really stand up. The whole thing about lightning rod and the whole thing about, was that thermodynamics? You're like, but that doesn't quite explain it.
Yeah, well, they were just grasping at straws because they don't know. They're putting forth theories, kind of like we are.
So if the mycelial network can create basically an organic transporter, then why not be able to do clothing too? Because transporters can transport clothing.
Yes, but they would have to take, in order to reconstitute Culber in this side,
right?
They needed his DNA. So they had his DNA. Clothing doesn't really have DNA. So they couldn't reconstitute that with him in this universe, and Bruce's head is going to explode.
They could only do like cotton and other natural fibers like leather.
No.
Well, okay, so when Stamets on previous episodes saw Culber in the mycelial network, he was wearing his white medical uniform, and now he's not. And I remember watching this episode thinking, what is he wearing? Where did that come from?
He was wearing a lot of tree bark.
So
he was wearing a lot of tree bark, and a lot of his uniform had been eaten away by the mycelial network. So there wasn't a whole lot of what he came in with still left there. Okay. And he was using the tree bark to protect himself.
So maybe it just kind of distorted the uniform and what? Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm going with.
It would make sense if he would have been naked through that whole scene in the mycelial network, actually, but that really would have got a lot of people upset.
Yeah. And there is, let's see, Becky. I'm not going to say your whole name, but Becky, you know who it is. You know who you are, Becky. She says, how did Culber survive the toxicity of the tree bark? Because it wasn't toxic to him. The mycelial network was toxic to him. The tree bark is toxic to the mycelial network.
Yeah, and only May assumed that would be toxic to Tilly when she tried to touch it, but obviously she wouldn't have been harmed by it.
Yeah, because Michael was able to pick some up.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if Hugh was constituted from their DNA, wouldn't he also be susceptible to the tree bark?
No, it's just stop making, let's just... The mycelial network does not obey the same laws of physics that what we know.
If you can't make anything out to make sense, it's because, well, that universe is different from ours. That's always going to be the excuse.
It's literally another dimension. So, I mean, it's literally another dimension. Mm-hmm. So not everything is going to work the way our tiny, feeble brains think that it should.
Yes. Yes, mommy.
Yeah. And another thing, clean your room.
Well, thermodynamics, that's the whole thing. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. And that's why he passed through that energy like a lightning rod or like a lightning bolt.
Keep noticing people talk about how Michael is too knowledgeable and is kind of Mary Sue-ish. She's their chief science officer, and nobody ever complains when Data knows something, or Data. Sorry.
Well, because they say he's something, a computer.
Or when Spock knows something.
Absolutely.
I think there's something either sexist, racist, or both. Because Michael will have the same level of knowledge as Spock or Data, but somehow people find it unbelievable.
I never once thought that she has too much knowledge or she was too knowledgeable. No. Because like you're saying, I mean, she's a science officer, and like Spock, she was raised on Vulcan, and Vulcans seem to be knowledgeable about everything. So it just seems to fit where the character should be.
It's like because these lines are coming out of the mouth of a woman or something that she's not taken seriously by some people. It's weird.
Well, then here's the opposite.
Welcome to being a woman, even in this day and age.
Well, thank you.
That is what we go through every single day.
Yeah, it's sickening.
Well, I'm not a woman. Not yet.
Yeah, I know. I know you're not. Believe me, I know.
I don't know how you know.
Because you have a beard and a family, and
I was going to say, because you saw Culber naked. You haven't seen me naked. So.
Oh, and I hope I never do, honey.
Now I'm losing my train of thought. Hold on, wait. What was I going to say? So about but here's the interesting thing to what you're saying. I've heard some reaction, not much, about Tilly being like the Wesley Crusher of this show. The young ensign or cadet, whatever, seems to know more than anybody else. And I even picked that up even on this episode. It's like Tilly's the one who's figuring things out more so than some of the other people. Again, in the mycelial network, when Culber can't be brought over, she says, wait, no. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. I love that about her character, but people don't seem to have as much a problem with Tilly being so smart as they did with Wesley Crusher when he was so smart. And I think
that's because Wesley Crusher was underage. Tilly is not.
Underage?
Tilly, underage. He was a teenager.
So, what does it matter what age you are, you can drink or not?
No, I know that. But I'm saying, and see, here's the problem. I never had a problem with Wesley Crusher because I was his age at the time that Star Trek Next Generation was going on. It's only adults don't like it when people younger than them are smarter than they are. And so they rebel against that. Now, Tilly is a full adult, so that somehow makes it okay. But you put a teenager in that exact same role, and they would hate that person just as much. It's ridiculous, and it's wrong. But that's what our society is still working through, apparently.
And often when they consult Tilly, it's usually about her expertise, which is in mycology. She's the mushroom expert. And usually whatever they're discussing is involved in that. Like when she's carrying that rifle and she's talking about it being a Type 3 that's bigger and nastier than the Type 1 or 2, which is probably why they call it a 3. You know, she's not an expert weaponsmith or anything like that. You know, though I did like how she did the fall in. It's soldier speak.
Yes, I like that too.
It's soldier speak for get behind me.
Which is funny because later Burnham tells everybody, now just get behind me. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. She was more layman's
It'd be an
terms.
interesting time for like a callback if she had said fall in as well.
Yeah, that would
to show where Tilly might have picked that up.
Yeah, but from what I remember, and I'm sure the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, Burnham did not go to Starfleet Academy.
True.
She was raised and educated on Vulcan, and Sarek got her that position on the Shinzo.
just like Wesley Crusher.
Yeah. So
it all comes back to Wesley.
Except Wesley didn't really get a position when he was first on there. He was just there with his mom.
Yes, but then they made him an acting ensign.
So do we get a gray sweater with a rainbow on it for Tilly or for Michael?
Ooh, Michael.
You know what?
Michael.
It doesn't matter to me either way because I don't have a problem with either of them.
Well, no, but see, the rainbow shirt, that comes later. That comes in the 24th century. Or maybe we'll start seeing Section 31 wearing them with the communicators now.
Well, the 13th Doctor is already wearing a shirt with rainbow stripes in the middle, so...
That's where it came from, the 13th Doctor.
Yep. Yeah, see, Wesley is just imitating old episodes of Doctor Who because he really respects women and was like, hey, this was the first female Doctor. Look at that shirt. I want one of those.
And that's a nod to Mork of Mork and Mindy. So
oh my gosh, yes.
It goes all the way back.
It still keeps going back. Nanu.
Yep. So far back.
All right. Anything else? Because we've hit our 1 hour mark, so we need to wrap things up here soon. Anybody in the chat, bring something up if we haven't brought it up.
I'm tapped.
Well, Justin said, "Can we talk about the pinky swears?" Where were you when we were talking about the pinky swears earlier, Justin?
You know, I thought
not here yet?
When the pinky swear thing happened, I thought it was funny because this is the second episode now that Tilly has said the word pinky.
Yep.
I like how Mace goes, "What are you doing with your small finger?"
Tiny finger.
Or tiny finger.
What are you doing with your tiny finger? That made me happy. It was, oh yeah, this is the thing that I forgot about. Pike's speech. Right. When he is addressing Enterprise, Discovery, I'm sorry.
You're in a different universe tonight, you know?
When he's addressing Discovery, right before they try this ridiculous plan, and he says, Starfleet is a promise. I'll give my life for you. You'll give your life for me. And, you know, that was when it really, really started, you know, the misting up. And I just got a Kleenex before we even started the episode because I knew it was going to happen through all of the episode. But I love that speech.
And I love how Pike doesn't use anybody's rank, ever. He's always calling people by their first name. Yep. Or even a nickname.
Oh, well, their last name, because...
right.
Because Awoshikun, that is not her first name. That's her last name. And Ariam just has one name.
With me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
He never calls anybody by their rank except for his number one. Interesting.
Yeah, but again, I don't know that that's her rank. That name is because of her rank. So, yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. So, now I want to go back and watch The Cage. Does he ever refer to anybody by rank in The Cage? Interesting. I want to see that. I can't figure out, Chris, your comment in the chat about Welcome Back Carter Epstein. What does that have to do with what we're talking about? I'm lost.
You've never seen Welcome Back Kotter?
Oh, no, I have. On. I just don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about.
We're just talking about classic television, I guess.
Yep.
Hey, you know what?
Maybe something Epstein wore? I don't know.
I'm willing to stay on after the show and talk about classic television for a couple hours because I would love that.
Barney Miller.
Stuff. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I loved Barney Miller. Oh, I loved Barney Miller so much. Had Ron Glass on that, who was also the shepherd in Firefly.
Firefly. I knew that one. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I have watched Firefly.
Nice.
Thank
Seatbelts.
God.
Did they mention seatbelts in this episode?
Well, Beta Artemis has been saying this repeatedly throughout.
That's why I wondered.
Yeah, I did look at their chairs. It's like, those are some odd-looking office chairs.
Yeah, here's the thing, guys. They have artificial gravity,
Right.
and they have inertial dampeners, so they don't need seat belts unless half the ship is stuck in the frickin' mycelial network, okay?
Maybe they need, like, little Velcro things that hold them in.
There you go.
I used to think in my head canon way back, I don't think about this anymore, but I used to think, oh, I know why they don't have seatbelts, because with the artificial gravity, if something happens to the ship, the gravity is supposed to help keep them in the seats. It's only when something happens to the ship and maybe the artificial gravity stops working temporarily is why they fall out of the seats.
Okay, yeah. That
So
makes
it was
sense.
like the designers didn't feel like they need seatbelts because the gravity would help retain them in their seats.
How about
Okay,
like Demolition Man when it just fills up with foam? And you have to crack them out of it.
That would be awesome. Or airbags on the bridge would be cool.
There you go. Driver side and passenger side.
Yep.
And they look like big tribbles. Hey, I want to ask the chat as we're starting to wrap things up, and before I ask for your ratings of this episode, what is your favorite classic TV show? And it has to be a show prior to 2000. It's amazing to me to think classic TV is prior to 2000.
Well,
Oh,
technically,
Lord, yeah.
20 years would make it a classic.
It would. That's why I feel old
So, yeah.
saying that. So, okay. Any other thoughts? Final thoughts about the episode, or where you rank? Dave, what do you think of this episode?
This is my favorite so far. I'd go 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this one. I was looking forward to it from the trailer. I just thought being able to visit the mycelial network would be awesome. And it was exciting and had a lot of great science fiction in it. And it was very emotional and had great character moments.
Perfect.
Agree. I will give it 6 sobs out of 5 because of all of the things that Dave already said.
Yeah. In the chat, go ahead and start putting your rankings. Use whatever ranking method you want. Gosh, I don't know. Yeah, I'd say, I don't know if I'd give it 5 out of 5, but it's close. I give it 4.7. 47, 4.7, 47. See the connection? 4.7 out of 5 on this one. I like that. So, Kirsten Beyer wrote this one, who writes a lot of the Voyager novels, and I like this better than the one she wrote in season 1 with Saru. I can't remember the name, where he's on the planet and he's like with the tower, communication tower, and he starts freaking out. It's the first time he's never felt fear and all that.
Yeah, that was an odd episode.
Yeah. I mean, it was okay, but I like this one better than that one.
Yeah.
So, okay, classic shows in the chat real quick. What do we have in here? I see Stargate SG-1, I Dream of Jeannie, Oz, The Prisoner, Knight Rider, MASH twice. No, the Star Trek stuff doesn't count. Well, that's a given.
Yeah.
Touched by an Angel, ER, and Dr. Quinn. Oh, okay, there we go. Jag. I Live Lucy, yes. I do. Okay, and then rankings, I see things in here like 6 out of 10, 5 Type 3 rifles,
Nice.
4.5 out of 5, but episode 2 is still my fave. I see 10 out of 10,
30 out of 31 sections.
30. That wins.
That wins best one.
I see an
Best
8.5
one.
picky swear too. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Yeah, I like that. Yes, and I did not name drop a podcast thumb on this episode. Thank you very much, Liam. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay.
So Dave, when you're not on live from the edge in the chat group, where can people find you online?
I am Dark Corner Cast on Twitter. If you look for DJ Evil Dave, you'll find me places. And I am the host of the Dark Corner podcast that I do with Brandi every 2 weeks. Our most recent episode was a solo one that I released for Electronic Body Music Day. So it's 10 tracks that I collected out of my promotional library. So if you like some kind of hard-hitting electronic music, yeah, you can check that out.
I was actually listening to that today, and when I started, I thought this is the longest intro I've ever heard to a podcast.
And after that, you'll hear me announce that, hey, you heard a complete song, which means this is a music special.
Yep, that's exactly what I heard. Oh, we got some of the X-Files, Quantum Leap, Gunsmoke. Oh my gosh.
Wow, Munsters. Addams Family, that's it.
Yeah, Seinfeld.
That's a great one.
Of course, Seinfeld, yes. Okay. Brandi, where can people find you online?
Brandywine12 on Twitter, or Dark Amy Nose Rock on Twitter. Yeah, if you haven't been keeping up with this podcast, you won't understand that. Also, Dave already mentioned Dark Corner Podcast. You can also find me on Warp 5 on the Trek FM network with my friends Brandon Shea Motella and Patrick Devlin talking about Star Trek Enterprise. And you can also find me tomorrow night at the Comedy Loft in Ogden, Utah, doing improv with Dave.
Oh, I want to come to that.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'll have to get to Utah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I'm on Twitter at Admiral_Rex. You can find me in the Babel Conference. I'm on a show here on Trek FM with Dan Gunther talking about Star Trek books and comics. I can't remember the name of that show.
Literary Treks. Literary Treks.
And then I'm talking Star Wars on the Star Wars Report. So, okay, it's time for our closing. And any ideas of what voice you're going to use for this, Brandi?
You're getting a lot of votes for Dark Amy.
Isn't that what we have every week?
Yep.
You know what, Amy? Amy. See, now it just threw me off. You know what, Brandi? You can also pick maybe a classic TV character that you've always wanted to do. So. It's up to you.
There are too many choices right now, so I'm going to actually go with Dave's suggestion before we started the show when I was whining that I didn't have something. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So here we go. I'm doing the Michael Burnham opening and closing monologue voice for this week.
And Dave and I will move in slow motion as you do it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. Live from the Edge airs on Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Our commentary will be available as Tracks from the Edge. We'll discuss your feedback on Postcards from the Edge. And you can catch the full analysis on the Edge main show. And join us for Notes from the Edge with our own Chris Jones for links between Discovery and the broader franchise. You'll find all of these in the main feed for the Edge and in the Trek FM master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery. The best place to do that is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at Trek FM or send us email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. We'd also like to thank, at this time, all of our associate producers, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Paleo, Lisa Slack, Shoab Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Ryan Maylett, Chris Trabuzio, and Brian Malash. If you'd like to help us keep all of these shows going and even become an AP, visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details.
That was beautiful.
Nicely done. Yay!
I feel so relaxed right now.
Oh. So moving that slow, it's like doing Tai Chi and you're while sitting down.
I know. I felt like I was meditating or something.
I was feeling really calm and in touch with myself for a minute. It's the best I felt all week. I need to do more Burnham monologues, apparently, just in my daily life. Have Burnham be the voice in my head.
Hey, yeah, so Justin Ozer is going to do postcards this week because Amy can't. So that's different. And then I know there's some notes from The Edge from Chris Jones that need to come out, but believe me, they're going to be worth waiting for. So when he can do them, he'll do them.
Oh, Chris Littlefield, you make me smile too.
Oh, Chris Littlefield's going to be on an upcoming episode of Live from the Edge. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's going to be awesome.
I don't know who's going to be on next week yet, so that'll be a surprise.
Yes. Well, it's always a surprise for the people who join us in the chat.
Yes.
Indeed.
Oh, Simon, thank you. It's 3 a.m. where Simon is right now. I meant to ask that on a previous episode. I'm just curious if anybody who's on here live is outside of North America right now, and where are you? Because, yeah, it could be 3 a.m. for someone who's watching right now.
Yeah, well, Alexandra Sandu says it's 5 a.m. where they are. Oof. So, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
And it's, that's ow. Just ow. Romania. You're in Romania. Nice. That's amazing.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
1 p.m.
Love it.
Look at all this. Oh.
I love it.
Nice.
It's a world thing. Oh my gosh. I had no idea there were so many people outside the US on here. Yay.
Oh, Detroit. That's foreign too.
Cool.
Hey now. Hey now. Don't start.
I'm kidding.
Hey now.
New York City. Imagine that. We come full circle. We talked about New York earlier. Now we're back to that again. I'll be in New York and Detroit coming up in the next few months anyway. So there you go. All right, let's end this thing. So what do we always say at the very end of an episode? Live long and prosper. Okay, good. And what?
Keep calm and disco on. That's not disco, darling. But anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week.